Welcome to Restless Chipotle Kitchen. Today, we're gonna make an old-fashioned favorite that I bet was in the cookie jar that was in your kitchen when you were growing up. Can you guess what it is? All right, there's one seriously controversial ingredient in these cookies, and that is vegetable shortening. I use Crisco. Yeah, and I would strongly suggest that you don't get an off-brand vegetable shortening for this because it can make them taste rancid, okay? Get a brand, a name brand, and check it and make sure that it's within the date, that it's not old. You can smell it sometimes because this stuff will go rancid if it sits on your shelf for a long time. I'm always having to check mine because I don't use this very much. So 9 times out of 10, I have to throw out a half a can and go buy another one. Anyway, so you're gonna want Crisco, not butter. I know it's gonna be tempting to go and put butter or even butter flavored Crisco, but I promise you that the whole flavor of these old-fashioned, chewy, amazing oatmeal cookies, the whole thing is the ingredients that were used. And this is the original recipe that was on the back of the Quaker Oats canister. And the reason I know that is because in my mom's recipe collection, which is a box with a lot of loose recipes in it, it's torn off or cut off, I can't remember, but it's literally that recipe. So this is the original 1950s or 1940s recipe for oatmeal cookies. It was on the Quaker box. They've changed it since then. They've taken out the water. They may have put butter in it, I don't know, but this is the original and I think it's the best, even though it does have vegetable shortening in it. So vegetable shortening: white sugar, brown sugar, water, an egg, oatmeal. And when you get this, you're gonna want the old-fashioned oats or quick oats. You don't want instant oats. Personally, I get the old-fashioned oats because I like the texture a whole lot better, but you can get the quick oats too. Just make sure that it's not the instant oats that you add boiling water to in a little packet, because those will not work. All right, and baking soda, salt, flour, and I think that's it. So we have all of these ingredients, but I wanted to show you a couple of things about measuring. Because I used to have a really hard time with measuring, and I know some people do, so I'm just going to show you, and if you don't have a hard time with it, sit tight, and if you do have a hard time with it, hopefully this will be helpful. So this recipe takes 3/4 of a cup of white vegetable shortening, and I suggest Crisco. I am not working for them, they are not paying me, I am just telling you that that's what I use and I've always had good luck with it. But it takes 3/4 of a cup. So the way to measure shortening is I use 3 1/4 cups, and the reason that I do that, it's not magic. I almost can never find all of my measuring cups, so I use what I have when I have it, and this is the 4th cup measure is the easiest way to do it with the measuring cups that I have right now. You just put it in there, make sure that it's pressed down really well so that this cup is full, and if you use the 3/4, and then you just slice off the top so that it's even, and that's it. That's how you measure it. So there's 1/4, take that out, put it in this, and then a half, and then 3/4. So anytime you're measuring shortening, this is how you measure it. In fact, pretty much anytime you're measuring any kind of fat, this is how you measure it. It gets packed down into the cup or into the measuring cup. And then you just level it off with your knife. Okay, there's our Crisco. The other thing that some people have a hard time with is brown sugar. And I already measured this and I don't really have a place to put it right now, but you can see that it's really held the shape of the cup. When you measure brown sugar, you just put it in the cup and you press it down really hard as you can to pack it in there. In fact, most recipes will call for packed brown sugar. Give me just a minute, gotta wipe my hands. Most recipes will call for packed brown sugar, and that's what it means. You spoon it into the cup or scoop it into the measuring cup, and then you pack it down. And when you take it out, it should hold its shape just like that, okay? That's how you measure brown sugar. So we're gonna put that back, we've got that. The other thing is this recipe takes 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And one of the biggest culprits in people having issues with their recipes not working is the fact that they don't measure their flour right. You get a spoon and you very lightly spoon the flour. In fact, I like to stir it around a little bit just to sift it up and fluff it up, because it can get packed down. It can get packed down when it sits in the pantry and gets moved around a lot or whatever. So stir it up good and then very lightly scoop it into the cup. And you want it to kind of mound over the cup. I'm trying to do this where you can see it and also do it so I don't make a huge mess. You kind of want it to mound up over the cup like that. And then you take your knife and you just, with the flat edge, you just level it. Just like that. And you have it very level on the top. That's how you measure a cup of flour. A lot of people prefer to weigh it, and that's great, but in the United States, most of the time we don't weigh ingredients. Recipes don't tend to be written that way, so that's how we do it. The first thing we need to do is combine the flour that we just measured and the baking soda and the salt. And we're going to stir that up together in a bowl. Now, if you have a hand mixer, you're going to want to mix it up in a bowl this size. Not a bowl this size, okay? But I'm going to use my big stand mixer. But if you have a hand mixer, start with the bigger bowl. Right? So we're going to just mix those up and set that aside. And we're going to use the paddle with this. You can get paddles that have rubber on the sides and it helps them scrape down the sides and all of that. But I just like the one that came with the mixer. It's metal and I do have to scrape down the sides once in a while, but that's okay. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put your shortening in the mixer. You're going to add the sugar. The brown sugar and the egg. And get the mixer started and mix that right up. Once you get that mixed up, scrape down the sides. And if there's any of the shortening left on the sides or on the beater, go ahead and scrape that down. Make sure you get the bottom scraped off. And then we're going to add the 1/4 of a cup of water. And the ingredient I forgot to show you before, vanilla. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Or 2 half teaspoons because I can't find my teaspoon measure. Then we're going to turn this back on and cream it until it's light and fluffy. Alright, now we're just going to scrape that down from the sides. And this is a thinner mixture than when you usually cream butter because of the water. But keep in mind that the oats are going to soak up some of that moisture, and so that's why. Now we're just going to stir the flour mixture in very quickly. And you want all of the excess flour to get in there. So be sure, again, scrape this down with your rubber spatula. All right, turn it back on. You can even just stir these oats in by hand. You don't have to use the mixer. Bring that down. The oven sounds like it's ready. Now these bake at 350 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. Here's our mixture, and I'm just going to mix it by hand to get any last little bits of the Crisco mixture or the flour mixture. Make sure it's all in there. All right? Now one thing that I like to do is I like to get my cookie sheet, and I usually put parchment on it, but I don't have parchment today. So I put my silk hat on there, and then I put the spoonfuls of the dough on the cookie sheet very close. Just very quickly. And then once that's done, I will take this and put it in the freezer for about an hour until these are frozen solid. Once they're frozen solid, you can pick them up off the cookie sheet, put them in a Ziploc bag, and then you can just make 1 or 2 or 3 or 6 cookies. Just have fresh cookies whenever you want. So that's just a little trick that I learned because having a lot of kids and a big family and homeschooling, you know, sometimes in the afternoon we wanted a little treat, but I didn't want to have 6 dozen cookies sitting around the house. So that's something you can do. In fact, nowadays with an air fryer, you can even do them in the air fryer, and I am going to be doing a video about how to do that very shortly. Okay. You don't want this to be greased. You want to put your oatmeal cookies on parchment or on Silpat or directly on the cookie sheet so that they don't spread. If you grease the pan, they're going to spread really bad. You can also put coconut in these. That's how my mom did them. Coconut or raisins or pecans or craisins, however you would like to do it. But I just think that the plain ones are classic and they are delicious. Now, these are all set and they're, you know, on there real well. I tend to do one thing before I put these in the oven. I'm going to put these in the freezer for just about 10 minutes, and I'm going to test one cookie in the oven just to make sure that everything is okay before I go in and bake them and ruin a whole batch. It's always good to try to test one cookie. It takes 10 minutes of your time, and you'll know right then if you need to turn the oven temperature down or up, and if you need to sneak a little extra flour or some coconut or something to make the dough firmer, okay? So I'm going to put these in the freezer for a few minutes and I'll be right back. So I am just going to put the cookie in the center of this, and I'm not going to grease it. I'm not going to put silk pad on it because I want to make sure, since I told you that that you could put it on an ungreased cookie sheet plain. I want to make sure that that's true. And I'm going to put that in the oven for about 10 minutes and then I'll be back. Okay, our cookie got a little overdone at 10 minutes, but it's going to be perfect at 8 minutes. So you want to take it out of the oven when it's still a little underdone in the middle, if you like chewy cookies, which I do. That way they're chewy on the inside and they've got that crispy edge on the outside. Once you take your cookies out of the oven, don't try to move them off the cookie sheet because they will break apart. So I know that's tough, but don't do it. Also, these come off the cookie sheet very easily. So you don't technically need either parchment or silk pad, but it's a good idea to have. So these are the cookies that have been in the freezer. They are cold, but they haven't started to freeze. So I am going to put these in for about 8.5 minutes, and I will see you then. Here are our cookies. They've actually been in the oven for 10 minutes. It took a little bit longer. I want to show you, I can get them up close enough. These are done when they're still a little bit shiny on the top. Again, if you want chewy cookies. If you want them crispy, then you're going to let them go a little bit longer. And the longer you let them go, the crispier they're going to get. But you don't want to let them go for so long that they burn, right? So there it is, our oatmeal cookies. I'm going to let these cool, and I'll be right back. All right, they've cooled down a little bit, but I really can't wait. So look at that. Look how pretty that is. Chewy, warm cookie with crisp edges. And the bottoms are perfect. So I'm going to put them on this plate. And I'll see y'all in a few minutes. So thanks for being here with me today. I hope you'll come back next week. I hope you'll give these cookies a try. They are absolutely delicious. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a nice comment below and maybe a thumbs up. And oh, and definitely check out the recipe and the tips and the nutrition information and all of that over on the blog, okay? All right, I love y'all. I'll see you later. Hey y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle. Hey y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle Kitchen. Today we're gonna make a